Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cartoon Chatterbox. And today, we're going to be talking about the Oscar-nominated animated films.
And we have quite the variety today.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm Irish Husky. I'm the guy who started this whole podcast thing, and it is Oscar season, the time where everyone says that the Oscars don't matter, but still get mad when their favorite movie doesn't win. Circle of life.
Yep.
It really do be like that. And I am Carrick Nabnett. I am a voice actor and YouTuber on the side, and also ready to talk about some dang movies.
Yep. Jackson.
Hello, I'm Yo Jackson. I'm also a member of this, and I also write stories in here. I just written a Square Brothers Magic sequel, K.O. Dorchins. I'll send you guys the link later. And I also do some voice impressions too. I hope to become a voice actor too.
Yeah, I'm Wesley. I am also an architect here, and we've got a pretty good class. Though I should preface this by saying we got put in an awkward position because last year's winner was the movie we talked about the least. But it was through no fault of the film.
Yeah, it was literally, I just could not find it anywhere online.
It's The Boy and the Heron. Very good movie. Pretty nice that it upset Spider-Verse, but some of us couldn't see it, and it had been a while since Nick and I had. But congratulations, Hayao Miyazaki. This is his second Oscar win.
Yeah. We'll definitely dedicate one of these podcasts in the future to some Miyazaki movies, because I feel like that's definitely overdue.
He's got some good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had been a while since I had seen Boy and the Heron at the time we recorded that one. I did not want to make that mistake this year, so I spent the entirety of this week rewatching all of the nominees that I had seen previously and watching the other two for the first time. And I gotta say, as someone who started paying attention to the Oscars just a few years ago, it's hard to think of a better class of nominees than this one.
All right, and I thought last year's class was stacked, but this year you've got a lot of diversity. You've got not one but two stop-motion films. You've got a really artistic CGI. You've got DreamWorks firing on all cylinders, and you've got Pixar with their big one out of the gate. So which one do we want to talk about first?
Well, I'll say real quick my personal watching journey. I saw Memoir of a Snail and then Flow for the first time this week. And the frustrating thing about Flow was I bought it digitally on Amazon, but then a couple days later it started streaming on Max. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Really? Really?
You got Speckled Dwarf.
20, that's not even a word, and I agree with you. $20. And then after that I rewatched Inside Out 2 and then The Wild Robot, and literally last night I watched the Wallace and Gromit.
Hey, me too.
Ooh, yes.
So maybe it would be best to do it in release order. That might be the most fair.
Okay, I think Inside Out 2 came out first, so at least in the US.
Ah, man, this one. You know?
Yeah, I know, Nick, you have a strange relationship with this one. This is the highest grossing animated film for at least another week, because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Neja 2 is coming up fast.
It is crazy how much, and it's only been in China too. That's the
Really?
The wild part.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep, we're just now realizing China is the most populous nation, but Inside Out 2, it's pretty interesting, because this was the most requested Pixar sequel, but we had no idea how it would turn out.
I think Incredibles 2 was more requested, and I think the numbers also reflect that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'd like to believe that most Pixar movies are better as standalone films. We don't need a Ratatouille 2 or a WALL-E 2. We didn't need a Finding Nemo 2, but we got that anyway.
So I guess there goes the opportunity for Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Just watch Inside Out, though, was in a very special place where there was all the potential in the world for multiple sequels, especially Pete Docter's philosophy about the 27 emotions chart, and the potential for adding more and more as it goes on, and being able to discuss.
They consulted actual psychologists for this movie and the last one, and they were targeting off all the emotions. They said there are 6 basic emotions, but surprise kind of got merged with joy.
And plenty of avenues for discussion when it comes to growing up as well in the different stages of life.
I think hit critics said it best. The first movie teaches kids about sadness. The second movie teaches adults about joy.
Yeah,
That's a good way of putting it.
and I that is one of the lines in the film that hits probably the hardest when Joy comes to the realization that maybe when we grow up, we just feel less joy. Like, shit, I hate how real that is.
Oh, I felt that one.
Me too.
But before we get to that, I'd like to say that it start right out the gate. It has such a great start to it, like being in the middle of a hockey game and Joy being there to like rattle off all the emotions coming in and playing their part during the game. That was such a great way to bring us back into the mood of the world, and or like nice little roll call moment.
Right, what's the time skip for this movie? I feel like it's been at least a year.
Okay, that's a good question. Let me.
So she was 11 in the first movie, and she had already turned 13 because this feels like it's like the summer before high school.
Yeah,
So
it's 2 years.
probably
2 years after. 2 years after her move to San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Maybe 3 years. I figure she
It's
was
two.
in like.
It's 2 years.
Is
It's
it 2 years?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Oh, that's convenient.
I will be the fact checker.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but it feels so. Yeah, but it feels so natural. Like it's still a decent progression.
It is nice to see a 3D animated character with actual acne for a change. Like that is surprisingly rare in teenage animated characters.
Yeah, it is.
And got the braces too. It's a very believable looking puberty. Like they handle it very well, and I like how they it's a very natural sequel bait because we see that little puberty alarm at the end of the first movie, so you can tell that they were obviously hoping that the first one would do well enough to tackle that some more.
Right. And that first movie did really well. This one did almost twice as good.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
I mean, I kind of expected it to be a hit, but the highest grossing American animated film of all time, that was surprising.
And we
I'm
don't
glad
even
we-
need an asterisk for it either.
I'm glad we don't have to say it's the Lion King anymore.
Right. I was just so glad it beat that record so we don't have to split hairs over whether or not the Lion King counts.
Because in my eyes, it does count, and that's what frustrates me because I don't want it to. Because I don't like that movie.
So now we can put that behind us. You know, the lead up to this movie was kind of interesting because I remember quite a bit of skepticism in the fact that it was a Pixar sequel, and those tend to get pretty strong reception out of the gate, kind of dies down as the hype kind of goes away.
Yeah, and just like the novelty of it, so to speak.
So I think people were kind of like preparing for that, I guess, disappointment. I was one of the people who was really excited for this because I loved the first one so much. So, seeing people kind of dismissing it off the bat, it was like, nah, this is going to be great. You just wait and see. And then I went to see it, and the script kind of flipped on me. I just want to say, I do not hate or dislike this movie in any way. I think I let the hype get to me a little bit on release because I saw how much everyone was talking up how it was just as good as the first one, if not better. So I might have had, my expectations might have been raised a little too much because I just remember not feeling much, even when it was supposed to be making me feel stuff. I don't know why, but upon rewatch this past week, I will say it did get better for me as I was able to turn the cynical side of my brain off. I still don't think it's as good as the first one, and I fully admit that might just be my own biases, but yeah, when I see people saying this is like, top tier Pixar, best thing they've ever done, I'm like, okay, maybe dial it back a bit.
Right, yeah. I kind of agree, but I feel like this one has its strengths. I think the first one has the better story. It's the more based on the coming of age and the external factors, and you feel like the stress, so you can think, oh yeah, maybe this is all in her head. Maybe she's thinking it out. But this one is more internalized and it focuses a little bit more on the emotions. But I like this one for the feels, because you just have the feelings come through with it. And each one is in character, and you really get the emotions that hit them through puberty, because that's a whirlwind. I'll just say this: anxiety at the control panel. That's me every single day.
No.
Yeah, it's me too. Like, when that happened, like, anxiety is the character I relate to so much in that movie, even though she is meant to be the antagonist, which is good. And, like, I love that she actually does go through a believable redemption at the end.
Right.
Yeah, everything she did, like she thought she was like reasoning that it was for the greater good, and
Greater good.
She didn't have stop it. She didn't have any like ill will towards anyone. She legitimately thought it was for the best. Like even when like when she finds Sadness messing with the control panel, she's not like mean to, like, sure, they put her in the bucket so that she can't do it anymore, but like she's like surprisingly like really nice to her. It's like no, Sadness, it's okay, like I promise that what we're doing is all right, now get in the bucket.
Right. Yeah, also I didn't even recognize Maya Hawke when I saw her name in the credits. I was like, wow, that was her? Really?
Yeah, she's come a long way since Stranger Things.
Yep.
True.
And all the voice actors, I think, killed it. Even the new ones. Disgust is now played by Liza Lapira, and I think most people agree that she does a better job than Mindy Kaling.
Yeah,
Which,
Ennui's played by that French girl whose name I can't pronounce.
I at least know her first name's Adele.
Adele, yeah.
Adele as something.
Yeah, she's really good, and especially in this.
She apparently plays Ennui as well in the European French and Canadian French dubs.
Right. It's like how Vin Diesel voices Groot in every language.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite voice actors, Ayo Edebiri, played Envy, and it was a really fun take on that concept. Like her envy, the way that she portrays her emotion, I think, is a lot more subtle than most of the others. It mostly comes down to her dialogue and her like facial expressions. It's not as in your face as like anger yelling or joy trying to put a happy face on people who are sad. It was a fun take on that. And
right. There's more than one kind of envy. There's benevolent envy, where you just want what the other person has, and then there's malevolent envy, where you actually want to cancel them.
Cancel. Oh, that's a fun word.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I found it funny. I'm thinking about Paul Walter Hauser as embarrassment, who probably thinking, man, this is like the easiest job I've ever had. This is great.
It's like one line.
I have one line of dialogue, and the rest is just a couple of sounds.
Right.
One thing I want to bring up.
The sweaty hands
Yeah,
got
one thing I
me.
want to bring up before I forget is Val Ortiz, who's built up in Riley's mind as just like the greatest, coolest person ever. And then we see what she's like in real life, and she's like the greatest, coolest person ever. I love how they didn't turn that around. She's like actually as cool as Riley thought.
Yeah.
And-
It's I definitely felt Riley in that headspace when you're like looking up to somebody who is a lot older than you, and you want to be like them, because it's like, man, like that's the cool kid. I want to be like there. Like if I can be as cool as them, then that's how I'll know that I made it. And apparently, I read an article. Apparently, they had to edit the film down a bit because Pixar was scared that people would see like the scenes between Riley and Val as like queer scenes, and they were scared after Lightyear apparently about audiences not liking that. So
Sure, 'cause that's the reason Lightyear failed.
Yeah,
Personally,
sure.
I'm kind of glad they didn't focus on romance. This story didn't really need that. At least this particular story didn't, because it's about fitting in and about managing your emotions. That would have kind of detracted from it.
And plus, I find it funny how
I think it would have been funny if, like, they just see the door open. It's like, Lust, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here for another 2 years.
Yeah, well, boy, yeah. Oh no, if they have to, they'll have to like rate the next film PG-13 if that's one of the upcoming emotions.
Oh my gosh,
It's gonna turn into that sitcom, somebody's head.
Harry's head?
Herman's head?
Herman's head.
Yeah, the really bad sitcom that everybody said Inside Out ripped off, even though it didn't.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people said anxiety might be redundant to fear, but no, they explain that. That's a line in the movie. Fear protects her from what she can see. I protect her from what she can't see.
That's right. I like when I think it was Pete Docter. He was asked about if because Riley has male and female emotions, does that mean she's bi? And his answer was, oh yeah, that doesn't really mean anything. We just kind of hoped audiences wouldn't really care.
And I was like, it's basically just the explanation. We just didn't think of that.
It just did not matter.
Right.
And also back on voice actors, this Tony Hale as Fear replaced Bill Hader, and as opposed to Disgust, it's pretty easy to tell that Fear has a different voice. But I also thought he did a great job. Like I like both his and Bill's take on the character. It was unfortunate that he couldn't be there, but I quite like Tony Hale's voice acting endeavors. Most people know him as Forky from Toy Story 4. I know him as Emperor Joker from Batman Ninja.
Oh yeah, that's a funny movie. That's in its really
cool.
Yeah, Batman gets teleported to feudal Japan, and Joker is there. And
they build a giant robot out of bamboo.
It's awesome. But yeah, Inside Out 2. I like how it's another sort of adventure kind of thing where they have to get the MacGuffin, then get back to headquarters. But they flip it around this time, where now Joy is with the rest of the cast, and Sadness goes off on her own mission. I'm glad they did that because, like, as much as I like Sadness, it was nice to see the other characters get more time to shine as well, since they took a bit of a backseat in the first one.
Yeah, they follow a lot of the same beats, but the story itself is not derivative. There's different stakes and different ideas. Though I do like how they preserve some of the continuity from the original. I think Sadness sleeps with a Bing Bong plush.
Aww.
And one of the future careers for Riley is astronaut, which would tie in with Ping Bong's last words.
Oh, take her to the moon for me. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Don't do this to me.
Yep, so there's some continuity.
And they remembered Joy and Sadness's friendship. I'm glad that remained intact. That they didn't because so many of these terrible Disney sequels reverse that. Like all the characters go back to square one, which is so frustrating. And it's part of why she tries to give the emotions a chance, because she didn't want to make the same mistake she did with Sadness, but that ended up backfiring too, because of her machine to just bury thoughts that make us uncomfortable in the back of her mind, that it got used against her.
Right, they also do that. And they talked about the memory cortex, where they have all of Riley's inner mantras or dialogues. That ties in with a lot of themes. Like, you can just shake off a lot of the bad words and what other people say about you, but the good words are important too. So you gotta try to hold on to those.
I think that was the moment that really hit me, when she removed the sense of self that they had been trying to get the whole time and allowed a new one to be made. And it became more than just one mantra. It was about I am all of these things, and that's okay because it's who I am, and I can just try to be the best me. Like I am a good friend, but I make mistakes, and I'm selfish, but I'm also good, and that we're much more complicated than that. And it was nice to see. That was a cool way to show it off. with a realistic depiction of a panic attack to boot.
Yes.
Oh,
Panic
yeah.
attacks, the new meta.
Can't have that.
Yeah.
5 years ago, it was generational trauma. Today, it's panic attacks.
Yeah, a realistic depiction of a panic attack.
Yep.
I gotta say,
did not-
the scene
did not
with
have to go
Riley
so
just
hard.
practicing overnight to get better and better at hockey, punishing herself every time she misses, gave me some serious Whiplash vibes.
Oh, yeah.
movie
Totally.
Whiplash.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It certainly didn't help that when Val came in, she like gave Riley credit for coming in early, even though she obviously had no idea how hard Riley was being on herself. It's like, yeah, I come to practice early too. So those like accidental
Validation.
Yeah, when really it's be like, no, this is not normal.
Yeah, but they noticed that she clearly hasn't slept or maybe even eaten before that practice.
It's like I told you guys that would make her nervous.
Right, so like they can clearly see that something is wrong, but maybe just don't have the maturity to deal with it, or maybe they were too in their headspace for the upcoming scrimmage.
I will say as much as I love this movie, even when I watched Memoir of a Snail, I somehow cringed less at that movie than I did during this movie, during any of the conversations she had with those teenagers. Anytime she was trying to be cool or do some, obviously that's what the film is going for, but it is impossible for me to watch those scenes without burying my head in my hands from the secondhand embarrassment. Like I was
a middle schooler once. I talked like that.
It felt too real. I was right there with embarrassment himself. No, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Oh, they've been looking at us for a while, haven't they? Like while she's practicing walking.
I feel that. I hate that I feel that, but I feel that.
Also, there was a surprising bit of animation commentary. I wonder if they were trying to evoke the feeling of overworked animators during the
studio
imagination scene.
And
Yeah.
it was in a year when they threatened to strike, no less.
I would not be surprised if that was intentional.
Yeah.
I liked.
I mean, they resolved the labor dispute, but there was the threat of a strike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I certainly liked the joke of Anger being like, Riley picking some flowers. Like, what? I can't be the anger guy all the time. I was of all the voice actors to come back, I was relieved that Lewis Black remained because we don't get to hear from that guy too often.
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else's anger because that's his whole shtick.
Exactly. That was a funny bit, but I will be honest. I thought the first movie was stronger in terms of comedy. Like the first one didn't make me laugh out loud all the time, but this one had at least one joke that just made me kind of cringe. It was the sarcasm. Like, really?
Oh yeah, that one went on for a little too long, I'll admit.
Yeah, I felt like the pun was kind of obvious.
And then the conversation they had with the people on the other side, like they could have easily cut some of those parts out.
Right.
Like, yeah, okay, yeah. The Asdiff movie did it better. And now the award for sarcasm goes to this guy. Wow, thank you so much.
I love that joke so much.
Yeah.
It was like short and sweet. That's all it needed to be.
Exactly.
Asdiff movie. If Smiling Friends came out a decade earlier, Asdiff movie would have been in it.
That's, oh man, I hope Tomska is a cameo in season 3.
Yeah.
I will say though, one of my favorite bits, like near the beginning, is when like they keep touching that puberty button, and like at one point they're just like reaching towards it with a stick. They're just like they don't know what's gonna happen.
I love that scene. Like, I barely touched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second time I watched this movie was back to back with the first one, so I saw the parallels and ideas, and I still kind of think the first one has like a leg up on it, but I'm glad to say Inside Out 2 is like one rank below it if I did my Pixar list right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's several ranks below it for me, but I have come to appreciate it on rewatch. And before we move on, I just want to say the Bluefy scenes were golden.
Yeah. Oh, Bluefy. Like, I was so in my mind, I was expecting them to say Toodles every single time because that's what I know that's what they were
I think it's a
referencing.
combination of Blue's Clues and Dora the Explorer.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Probably, yeah.
But I liked all the animation styles that they went for. And by the way, that they'll like to give a shout out to Lance Slashblade. He's voiced
That's
by
like the most obvious name the character can have, but I think that's the joke.
he's voiced by Yang Ya, who is actually an anime voice actor who's known for stuff like playing the main villain in season 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh yeah,
So-
I know him.
So that was very, very cool that they got an actual anime voice actor to play him. It made the joke come across better, I think.
Right.
And everyone killed it. I think. And am I the only one, by the way, who at the end, after they calm anxiety down and Riley starts playing hockey and is happy, and we see the yellow particles like leading towards the console. Did anybody else think that Joy was about to be like Thanos dusted away?
No.
Like as a follow-up to like, I guess we feel less joy when we get older. I legit thought Joy was gonna die in that scene.
Oh my gosh, that would be a horrible thing. That would turn this into a straight depression allegory.
Like I was freaking the hell out in the theater when I saw that, and I went with a group of 8 other people, and I talked to them about that, and we all thought in that moment that she was about to like fade away into nothingness.
Sadness, I don't feel so good.
Like, oh god, that's exactly what I thought was gonna happen. I was like, whoa, what a dark turn. It seemed like such a like joyful. They were going in much more joyful direction too.
Could you imagine if she said, "I don't feel so good"? If we just hear the surf and burn in the background too, along with that.
Surf and burn.
Does it be like Stewie when he said? It'd be like when Stewie said to Brian, "I don't feel so good."
Oh no.
It's a word of my love, burn.
I
It's a
get what you're
burn.
talking about.
Okay, what's
boy.
the next in sequence? Is it Flow? Is it the Wild Robot? Flow was technically released earlier at Cannes.
And
I think
Anarchy.
Flow is next in sequence.
Good, because I want to talk about this.
Me
Yeah,
too. I love
let's do
it.
Flow. Let's do Flow. I've been wanting a silent film animation like this for a while. Where I love Robot Dreams. Don't get me wrong, but I was really hoping for one with like actual animals as opposed to anthropomorphic ones, because I love stuff like that where you can tell that they put a lot of research into the movements and the mannerisms, and they found a way to give all the characters personality while not going too far into the anthropomorphism route. And this film does a fantastic job with that. It felt like I was playing Stray all over again.
Voice actors.
Have any of you guys played the video game Stray?
No, but I know about it.
Well, Jackson, do you know what Stray is?
No, I'm not sure, honestly.
It's a video game where you literally play as a cat, and you are just a normal cat.
I
And
saw a mod where they made me play as Garfield. That looks funny.
that's awesome. And this gave me tons of Stray vibes. I was very, very happy with the way it all came together, and I went into it completely blind. I didn't even know why it was called Flow, and so once that flood came along, I was like,
So that's
we're
why they
getting
call it that.
getting into the meat of things now.
He was influenced by Alfonso Cuarón, and I got Gravity vibes from this.
Yeah.
And apparently, this is not only a Latvian production, but it is also a co-production with France and Belgium, and it was all animated in Blender.
Yeah.
So you were kind of right about France.
On a
A third of the way right.
on a €3.5 million budget, and you can tell the limited budget just by the style, and also the fact that when Kat is struggling to swim, you don't see much of the water being splashed around. That might have been limitations.
Yeah, it was. Blender is a free and open source software, and
But word of warning, it does not handhold you. There's no tutorial, so a lot of people complain about how complicated it is.
yeah, and it's crazy that we have a like for the most part, mainstream movie in
Stream.
that in that like software being put out. It just goes to show that with the right dedication and working with the right team, anybody can make a movie.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
comes
the
down to
message of
imagination.
Flow. Teamwork makes the dream work. Flow. And
How many flow puns are we making?
yeah, and we have a cat, a dog, a lemur, a capybara, and one of only 2 secretary birds I've seen in animation.
What was the
What
other?
was-
The other's principal secretary from KIF.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right.
It's a type of a bird that's related to hawks and eagles. It can walk and fly and descends on its prey. And in bush fires, it's known for running above the fire and picking off the stragglers.
Are they known for being dicks in real life too?
Yep.
Because man, that scene where they broke the Secretary Bird's wing, that was brutal,
That
man.
was rough. That was hard to sit through. And
Yeah.
all because he was just trying to protect the cat.
Yeah, poor fella.
I know.
And it doesn't get any easier. Like when they let the rest of those dogs onto the ship, and they're just like not cooperative at all. And the Secretary Bird is like, we shouldn't have let them on. I told you guys.
Yeah, the whole movie is about, cooperation and healthy codependence, especially in, a dire situation. I kind of see
Right.
Cat and Secretary Bird as, two different sides of dealing with that. Because at the beginning of the movie and throughout the beginning of the journey, Cat is very aloof, acting alone, very resistant to joining anyone else. But eventually, learns from them, learns how to survive, learns how to, live with them. And by the end of it, you really do feel the friendship that the cat has with all the other animals. Whereas Secretary Bird, I think, all he cares about is getting to the top of that spire. It's all about survival. It's all about the end game for him. And you can see that in the way that the scene on the spire treats those two characters.
Right, the big twist.
Yeah, I was not expecting a rapture in this movie. It was like a pretty relatively grounded film up until that very exact point, and then it's never brought up again.
Christ-like sacrifice to stop the flood. That's how I interpreted it.
I guess so.
Like, I see that scene as, Secretary got what he wanted, and, with his bum wing, he can't really join the rest of his crew. He has no desire to be with the rest of those animals. His time is up, and he just accepts that. Whereas Cat knows that, he has more to live for than just survival and being on his own.
It was literally just, I do not vibe with this world anymore.
Yeah,
Adios.
but it's a quite unique assortment of animals. It's not the typical ones you'd find in a kid's book. It's a whole bunch of creatures from different environments, different continents
Right.
coming together.
Right. I do want to point out that the dog that joins him on the journey seems to make an attempt to try and be the cat's friend at the very beginning before the rest of his pack starts chasing him.
Yeah.
Like that dog doesn't care about, eating the cat. He just wants to be his friend. He just wants to be everyone's friend.
Yeah.
True golden retriever energy is what we call it.
Yep. The capybara's the one driving the ship. He's the one who lets them on. He's like the pilot.
So yeah, come along with me. We will do various adventures together.
Yeah, and then the lemur comes bearing gifts. So he's like the moral support. He's like your healer in the party.
Yeah. He was convinced to come on when they took some of his stuff off of his perch and onto the boat, and he didn't realize that everything was like getting flooded. And it's like, oh, okay, well, at least I got some stuff. Sure, I'll join you guys, but don't touch my mirror. And then the dog broke his mirror. I was like, oh, these fucking assholes.
Damn dogs.
Right. It says all the characters and tells a compelling story without saying a single word. This year was like a revival for the silent film, because in live action we had one. Did any of you guys see Hundreds of Beavers?
I want to.
I still need to see that. It's free on YouTube, so I have no
Tubi.
excuse.
Yeah, but that's also something that does something good with the silent film, but it plays it more for comedy than drama.
Yeah.
But another thing that's interesting with this Flo's gimmick is it looks like one-ish take.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. There are very few like camera cuts in this film.
Right, I think it's easier to suspend disbelief and pull it off with animation.
Mm-hmm.
Like watch 1917, that's technically 2 takes. Mm-hmm. And the way it did it there was it felt like a burning fuse where you felt like something was going to blow up because it kept the focus on it.
Yeah, I know Gravity did something similar.
Yeah, that the first sequence is 23 minutes long with no cuts.
Not to get too hung up on video games, but at points it did, with the way that they were sailing in their boat and how the adventure was like, it's so focused on specific things, and with all the lingering shots, it did kind of feel like God of War vibes at points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt the same way.
And I love those games. Those Norse games are such good storytelling.
Yeah, but the movie looks great, feels great. There's no other movie like it, at least not in the current animation scene. So this is the one I encourage a lot of people to check out. If this were to win the Oscar, it would be a real watershed moment. It would be really exciting. It would feel like when Pinocchio won 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad it won the Golden Globe as of this recording. So
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't get a nomination for sound, because this movie sounds great.
It's all sound. It's like Wall-E.
It's all atmosphere.
The whole soundtrack, it's a very atmospheric soundtrack.
How Wall-E lost sound editing, I don't know.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah, this is a weird one for me because it's like I love this movie. It's great. It does everything right, but because it is so simple and it has a very like straightforward goal with what it's trying to do, and not to say that, because silent filmmaking is hard as hell, like being able to get across the emotions and story of the characters and what they're going through with no words, that is so hard. But because it is a very simple style, I don't have as much to say about it as I do with the other movies. So, and that's not to say I think it's the worst one. It's just that's just kind of how I feel in terms of like talking about it, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, and it's just a feel good one because it has a good ending. It follows the Don Bluthian principle. You could show people anything as long as they get a happy ending out of it.
It was very, very nice to see all 4 of them just like huddled together, looking in their reflection at the puddle. That was a great shot to end on. Yeah. And seeing the whale back in the water too. I don't know if you guys stuck around for the post-credit scene.
Well, yeah, I did.
The whale was all right.
Yeah.
Jackson, anything?
Like, I will admit, I am kind of sensitive to like these kind of cat adventures because like I'm a cat daddy.
Aww.
But like it, from what I've seen in the film, like it does do a good job of what it does.
Is very accurate to the cat mannerisms.
Right. It's very immersive too. Like the scene where he's struggling to swim back up to the surface. Like you can just feel like his breath building up inside of him, his mind starting to go away until the whale saves him.
I'm waiting for somebody to make a video game version of this film because I feel like it would be so easy to do.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, just because I'm a cat daddy doesn't mean I can watch stuff like Tom and Sylvester. Those are fine because they're more human-like. I can watch those fine.
Yeah.
Those very first Tom and Jerry shorts, they learned from their mistakes that they made Tom feel too much like a cat. So like the way they changed his vocal screams as well also helped for the comedy.
Right. Yeah, but I was gonna say I think this is based on a short film, so they can expand it even further with the next step with the game.
By the way, do you know that the director Gint Zubalodis is only 30?
Oh, shiz.
As old as I am.
That's awesome.
He started working on this in like 2019, so he was 25 when he started it.
Wow.
He's older than any of us are right now when he started working on this movie. And that is so... We're getting old, man.
Tell me about it.
So yeah, in 2012, the short film was called Aqua, and it was about a cat overcoming its fear of the ocean.
It's just
And-
the cat, none of the other animals.
And he used Maya to animate previous works up to his 2019 film Away. That
Does
was
Maya still exist?
I think so. Or stable. Yeah, no. Maya's still a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's,
That's good.
it's
I know
late-
Shrek. I know Shrek was done in Maya, and that was considered a big thing.
Its latest update was 4 months ago, according to Wikipedia.
Okay, cool. They're still working on it. That's cool.
One last thing to mention, this is the first Latvian film to get nominated for multiple Oscars because it also got a nod for Best International Film.
I think
Hell yeah.
I think Flea was the last animated movie to get a nomination in that category.
Yeah, this is only the third one to do it. I'm surprised that none of the Miyazaki films ever got that nod.
Spirited it away. Come on. It was right there.
Nah. Oh well.
All right, so what's next?
I think Wild Robot. That's one I'm really loving. I read the book before going in, and it was pretty nice to see the movie translate the book. It's
Yeah,
a good adaptation.
My mom had the book in her classroom. She was a fourth grade teacher. That was one of the books she had.
I went into this movie completely blind. The only thing I knew was that Chris Sanders was directing it, and I love that guy's work.
I haven't seen Call of the Wild, but his animated films have been really great.
So that was enough for me to be like, okay, I'm totally gonna give this a chance. Like, I did not watch any single trailer for it. All I knew was that there was a robot, and that's it. And so
yeah.
I am so glad I did that because it was so cool, like being able to piece everything together as it went along. I didn't even know that the robot would be able to talk to the animals in it. And I think the way they handled that was incredibly clever.
I mean, it's in the book.
Yeah. I kind of went into this expecting it to be the kind of movie that Flow ended up being, with none of the animals actually talking. But I do like that they wait for her to understand their language before we can understand what they're saying.
And they're pretty consistent with it too. When the other robots invade, the animals are like, "What'd that robot say?" And she has to translate for them.
Hey, was anyone else reminded of Bastion from Overwatch?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We're gonna do
This robot isn't designed to kill; she's designed to help.
Bastion versus Rise. Begin.
Yeah, but
Third party
DreamWorks
Baymax
has been
comes
on a
in.
roll as of late. I feel kind of bad. We never got to talk about Puss in Boots.
Oh, yeah.
That would be something.
We'll definitely have time to talk about that soon. No, there's no doubt about that. Wild
Yeah.
Robot, I am happy to say, is a fantastic friggin' movie. Like, I watched it again a couple nights ago, and it hit me, and it made me feel the same things I did as I saw when I saw it in theaters.
It's a beautiful film. It's a
so
film about
good.
parenthood. It's about adjusting to new life. It's about the importance of the environment. It's got a lot of layers. See.
Mhm. It has a lot going on, and I'm impressed with how much it was able to juggle without it feeling, too cluttered. So I'm so excited that a sequel has already been confirmed.
I think the only part that felt kind of rushed was that whole thing where the bully geese are telling Bright Bill where he came from and what happened to his family. I thought that kind of came a little too early in the movie. And I
would have loved to see him act like a robot more.
Yeah,
I thought that was charming.
Yeah, I was kind of worried that the rest of the movie was going to follow that vibe, but they ended up settling that pretty quickly. I think just after the halfway point.
Yeah, which I guess is probably why they did it so early, because they needed to keep the plot going.
Right.
Is it safe to say that this movie is kind of like the Iron Giant meets Bambi in a way?
Oh yeah,
Not a
totally.
bad description. Not a bad description.
That's really it. But I'm also going to probably say this is the best looking DreamWorks movie, at least for their CGI.
It took what The Last Wish did and perfected it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it only costs like $78 million. Like, these animated films, aside from Inside Out 2, obviously, these animated films have been so cheap. And I freaking love that. It shows that not every movie needs to be like over $100 million to look good. Especially with animated films, it really just comes down to like the passion of the artists.
Yeah, what I also liked about this movie is it showed the perspective of Bright Bill through his migration So you got to see things from his view and see the new world. Apparently, this is adapted from elements from the sequel book, but it still worked here.
Mhm.
Yeah. R.I.P. Longneck for the record.
Aw, yeah, he was the real one. But hey, at least we are credible conversationalists. Really?
Really?
No, it's all gossip.
Yeah, that was funny.
Bill
But yeah,
Nye as
another
long
good
neck.
reason why this was greenlit for a sequel, because there is a sequel book. So there is more story to tell.
Apparently, it's a trilogy. Yeah. From if I'm reading this correctly, it's a trilogy. of
Wild
books.
Robot won the Critics' Choice Award because that's more American based. I feel like a lot of the American critics didn't get the chance to see Flow.
Probably.
But just like last year with Spider-Verse versus Boy and the Heron, the Academy is a little bit more international.
And on the topic of Bill Nye, pretty much every single voice actor in this I did not recognize. I thought like everybody here did such a good job falling into their characters.
And I'm like, Pedro Pascal, I know you. You blended right in.
Yeah, I was so that's probably one of the biggest double takes I've ever had, like going into like seeing the end credits, because I didn't know any of the cast. The only person I knew was Lupita Nyong'o, and that's only because I saw her name on a poster as I was walking into the theater. So they, oh well, she's probably the main character in this.
No,
But
she's good.
I still wouldn't have recognized her though, because she is so good at like the transition from like a robot helper to robot mom, and like becoming more humanized as it goes on. Like,
Yeah, also
like she
Cobra
handles
Bubbles
it so
is in-
well.
Yeah, also Cobra Bubbles is in this. He followed Chris Sanders.
Cobra.
Ving
Yes,
Rhames.
Ving Rhames. Yeah.
Hawk.
Yeah, the Peregrine Falcon.
Nobody
Thunderbolt.
F's with Marcellus Wallace.
I thought Matt Berry had a really fun performance as Paddler. He had some great lines. I anytime Catherine O'Hara is in anything as like a mom, like dealing with multiple kids, it's like always like the best. Like I love her voice.
Funny. Yep, she's someone you guys out there in the audience probably know from Schitt's Creek, but my parents are old enough to remember her from Second City and Beetlejuice.
Home Alone myself. That's where I was introduced to her. And freaking
Nightmare for Christmas also.
That's right, Sally.
Yeah.
I think she had the joke that made me laugh the hardest in this, when she was like, "It's a. I mean, look at me. I have 6 kids." It's like, whoa.
Like, jeez.
That was a dark joke.
And the dark humor does not feel out of place in this film, because the whole thing is about, survival of the fittest.
Exactly.
And like we even see, like, from the very beginning, like that crab getting picked up by the bird, or that bird, like the bird's head getting dislodged. Like, there is blood in this movie, if only for like a few seconds, but still it's there.
Right, or just dismembering that crab after boiling it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I am certainly not the only one who got Nick Wilde vibes from Fink.
Oh, of course.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
I almost thought for a second he was played by Jason Bateman.
Same.
Right. But yeah, Pedro Pascal did a good disguise of his voice. Like, he knows how to actually voice act.
Yeah. On the subject of death, there was technically death near the beginning when the goose and all the eggs, aside from Bright Bill, got crushed by the tree.
Oh,
right.
yeah, totally.
Kind of similar to the beginning of Disney's Dinosaur, aka the only good part of that movie.
Yeah, when they weren't talking.
Right. Yeah,
But
that's
luckily, this movie is the exact opposite of that. I think it like continues to get better even when they abandon the silent
that
film
scene was
aspect.
so tragic because she's spending the whole movie atoning for her sins, trying to do that. She was specifically designed to prevent stuff like that from happening.
I like the message of how, like they say this a couple of times, that it's funny how life works, because every now and then, like when a terrible thing happens, like something fortuitous can come out of it, because if she hadn't done that, Bright Bill wouldn't have like been strong enough to go on the migration, and it ended up being something good for him. And it just kind of it adds a lot of nuance to the actions, like there's always sometimes there's a bright spot in tragedy, and
Right.
it makes you think a lot, really.
Yeah.
Like not yeah, it's because it is hard to admit that sometimes this horrible thing happening has a good effect, because you don't want to be like oh well, we should let more terrible stuff like that happen. No, it's just like trying to go with the flow of life pretty much.
Yeah, that's right. And while Flow is the movie I kind of want to win this award, The Wild Robot is the one that I like the most as a film. It's the one that gave me the most feels.
I would probably rewatch this film the most out of all of the nominees.
I agree.
Yeah, I have to say,
Yeah.
it is so. This might be the first time that I've ever gotten choked up at a title drop.
Ooh.
When Roz says that she's a wild robot,
Yeah.
that got to me. It really
I
did.
love, yeah, and then she starts howl. Yeah, it's a good callback to earlier in the movie when Fink is like trying to get her to howl with him. Like, you gotta find the wild side inside of you, and then like she finds it like at the end. Like she starts running on all fours with the rest of the animals. It's such a good sequence. Like when they all come together to help her, and like they slowly like build up a party of friends. Like as the movie goes on, even during the montage when he's practicing swimming, and you see Paddler on the boat that he's pulling, is along with Pinktail and her possum babies cheering Bright Bill on.
Yeah.
It's like more and more people are helping out, and freaking Mark Hamill as Thorn, the grizzly bear. That was a crazy get, like I did not expect at all. And the more he started talking, the more I was like, okay, like he's like quickly becoming my favorite character. Like,
Right.
you know, when this is done, I'm gonna chase you again, right?
I think he kind of
Just
used his
kidding.
skip voice there.
Yeah, it's like a deeper Skips voice with like more like oh to it with, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, Jackson, you had something?
Wow. Like, I've all just talked about like Chris Sanders. Like, I also want to say that Chris Sanders is like a phenomenal storyboard artist. Also, when you look at the storyboard work he did on films like Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, it's no wonder that this guy went on to like become a director or something like that. Because that guy made such great stuff out of them.
Right.
It does not surprise me in the slightest that the best like animated things and just like shows like come from people who like pay their dues in those sorts of fields, and like they use that experience to like make it big. Like that's the reason I think Smiling Friends is the first actually good mainstream thing made by a YouTuber, because Zach and Michael aren't really like YouTubers in the traditional sense of like vloggers and like let's players. Like they are actual storytellers who have had tons of experience animating, and so that's why it wasn't surprising to me at all that when they were given a bigger budget and an opportunity like that, it actually resonated with people.
Right.
And the same goes for Chris Sanders. Like he knows what he's doing. And
yeah, I have a couple more thoughts on this movie. First of all, I'm a little bit, having not read the book, I was a little bit surprised that it didn't go in kind of a Wall-E-ish direction. You know, considering that, you know, humanity is clearly more dependent on the robots that they build.
Yeah.
Oh, you're surprised that they didn't show the humans more?
Yeah, like the humans getting fat and lazy.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't more of a focus on that. It's a neutral kind of surprise, doesn't hurt or help.
Yeah, I think they're trying to present it as like sort of almost like a post-apocalyptic Earth, because you know we see the scenes where like the Golden Gate Bridge is flooded, and it's so it's more about like survival.
Yeah, that takes me to the second point I want to make. I am convinced that this takes place in the same universe as Flow.
Oh,
where everything is underwater. Humanity is had to adapt in a way that's removed from nature.
Yeah,
and because at the end of Flow, the water goes back down. So do you think it came back?
They say in the movie the island is used to be a peninsula. I kind of had canon that this movie is set in Alaska.
Okay.
Interesting.
Because it has the environment, it has the winter-summer cycle, all the animals there are present in Alaska, and it has a peninsula that could in theory, recede to an island.
This might be the first mainstream animated film since Brother Bear.
Yeah.
To take place in
Take
Alaska.
place in Alaska.
Wow, what a callback. Joaquin Phoenix, what a career.
Tell me about it.
If I had like a small nitpick, the Vantra robot, virtual observational neutralizing troublesome retrieval authority, I liked that character a lot. I was just sad that we didn't get more of her. I know like she wouldn't have fit anywhere else in the story, but like I'm hoping that she comes back in the next movie, like a new model of her, because I think that was that's a fun take on an antagonistic force,
Right.
where like she's programmed to be like happy and friendly all the time, even when she's saying this like really these really heinous and the like threatening things. Like when she was removing Roz's memories, she was like, "Could I please at least keep one?" And she was like, no. And then immediately pulled the lever. I was like, "Oh my god, that is brutal."
By the way, am I the only one when Roz activated for the first time? Was I the only one who got Portal vibes?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
And by,
You are now entering Aperture.
nice. And now you're
Enjoy
thinking
your
with
day.
portals.
Yep.
And also Stephanie Sue, speaking of robots, she was Vantra, and she also played
Karen on Broadway.
on the SpongeBob Broadway.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Right.
we get. And
Okay, we have
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, we have 2 stop motion films left. I think one would be a better note to end on. So let's now go over with Memoir of a Snail for the next one.
Oh
This-
boy, this one's rough.
Oh god.
This one's kind of interesting, but it's for the director. It's Adam Elliott. This is kind of his style. He won an award. He won an Academy previously for Harvey Crumpet, which is a fun little animated short. But he also directed Mary and Max, one of the most acclaimed animated films of all time, and it's in that signature style.
And is the second R-rated animated film to ever be nominated.
After another stop motion film, Anomalisa, which I insist would have cleaned up if it were live action.
Yeah, I feel so bad for that director, man.
Yeah.
Did that
Adam Elliott.
Did that come out the
he
same year as
does
Inside Out 1?
It did.
Right.
It
Yeah.
lost Inside Out 1.
Yeah, but that was a stacked year.
That's true. I mean, this is kind of a stacked year.
Oh,
Yeah,
for
Adam
sure.
Elliott, he doesn't do claymation. Claymation is a registered trademark of Will Vinton. He does clayography.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's totally different. He has physiological tremors, like little twitches through his hands, but he was able to turn that weakness into a strength by having the stop motion puppets be so janky.
Yeah.
So it's an aesthetic.
It's a style that definitely works with the tone of the film.
Right. I don't know how many of you have seen Mary and Max, but that one's more on the bitter side of bittersweet. This one's on the sweet side.
For as hesitant as we are like going into this talking about it, it still has plenty of funny moments. A lot of dark comedy for sure,
Like
but
the
it is.
reason why Pinky is called Pinky.
Yeah, it's like I laughed out loud at a couple of points, like how each of her reactions to both of her husbands dying was just like like what crap? What did she say? It's like the Australian version of it, like like wanka, something like that.
Yes.
This movie is unabashedly Australian, and I love it for that.
Apparently, it's semi-autobiographical. Incorporates elements from Adam's own childhood and also dealing with disability.
Right.
Wow. And apparently this was developed over an 8-year period.
Right.
Stop motion.
Stop motion always has an uncanny quality because the idea of knowing what you are seeing exists in a physical space somewhere.
I mean, the main character literally becomes a stop motion animator.
Yeah, I love it when animators get the chance to do that and have like we get to see their take on an amateur's first animation.
I mean,
It was-
films about making films has been an art form since at least
Films
the
were a
20s.
thing. Yeah.
I was worried going into this about how rough it would be with it like opening on an old lady dying, like her like shriveled up mouth, like, oh wow, like we're just right out the gate, huh? And then I realized it was gonna be a retelling kind of story. I was like, okay, all right, let's see where this goes. And it goes to so many different places. I love the relationship they had with their dad when he was still kicking. Like even when he was when he got hit by that car, like he still found a way to like have fun with them despite being down on his luck. Like I love the moment of them using the car battery to power up his wheelchair so that they could go racing down the road.
Yeah, it's just I love I love the relationship between Grace and Gilbert too.
Yeah, they're really good siblings. They might have fought a lot, they made disagreements, but they still keep in touch. That's so beautiful.
Even when they're literally across the country from each other.
When he gets his teeth punched out by a bully, his answer is to snap the middle finger that bully like threw at them. I was like, damn, Gilbert is a real one.
Oh my god, he shoves his tooth back in too.
Yes, it's that is so raw.
Like that's in with his character. He's like kind of crazy, but down to earth enough that he can form, human connections.
Yeah, he's I was very surprised to learn that the older version of him is voiced by voiced by Paranorman, Cody Smith McPhee.
Oh no, kidding.
Real?
Yeah, so he's another stop motion film in the books for that guy.
He's got a style. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But again, Adam Elliott's films tend to go for a lot of dark comedy and being a bit more bittersweet. Marion Max will crush your soul, just so you know.
Thanks for the heads up.
You know, like
As if
Pinky,
this one didn't.
like Pinky having relations with John Denver while they were on a helicopter.
Oh my god.
Like,
Especially if you know how John Denver died.
Like that is so like what a crazy reference to make to real life.
Right. Clone High did something similar. It's like, board this plane. It's also got Jim Croce, Aerosmith, and Buddy Holly, and half of Leonard Skinner.
I think they did something in Final Destination. I don't know if you guys have seen those movies. When they got on the plane, a John Denver song started playing, and like that was one of the hints that the plane was gonna blow up.
No.
Yeah, that's like if she dated Dwayne Allman and they were riding a motorcycle.
Jeez.
Oh, out of all the villains this year, as much as I love the villains that we're gonna be talking about in the next film, I think this by far made the most like hateable antagonist out of any of the films today, which I think is kind of goes naturally with religious zealot characters. Those tend to be good for making unlikable characters intentionally.
Right. She gave me a very Margaret White vibes from Carrie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Gilbert, who's basically taken into a cult. Oh, hey, Nick Cave was in this.
Oh wow.
He was Bill Clark, the second husband.
Cool.
Oh, the one that got eaten by the crocodile.
Yeah,
Yep.
immediately.
Wow, that's cool.
And speaking of voice actors, Ruth, the foster mother, is played by someone named Magda Zubanski. I have to wonder what it was like for her, filming this. Like, for those of you who don't know, she was also the vocal teacher in Happy Feet.
Right.
That was a funny scene. But she is a very strong advocate for LGBT rights and same-sex marriage in Australia. So I wonder how she felt voicing a character like this, who is so much the opposite of that.
Right.
That takes being a really good actor, dedicated to it,
Right, yeah. And for context for Gilbert running across Australia is about as large as the lower 48, so he had quite the journey.
Oof. It was
I mean,
Hey,
Forrest Gump did that for 3 years, so it's
I
not
was about to say
impossible.
Forrest Gump.
But then again, Gump didn't have to go through the Outback.
Yeah.
Right.
The place where they had to ban an episode of Peppa Pig where they said spiders can be your friends. In Australia, it's
down
like,
there.
no, not here.
Right. Wonder
Do
if
not want.
surprised we went this far without making any Bluey references.
Yeah, I
This
went with
episode
Peppa
of
Pig
Bluey
first.
is called Cult.
I threw you
That
guys
would
for a
be
loop
trip
there.
and a half.
Oh boy, I think that probably was the part that surprised me the most. I was not expecting him to be making out with one of his foster siblings.
I mean,
But
not a blood relative, so it's fine.
Yeah,
It's a classic soap opera defense. We're not
Yeah.
technically related,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Yeah, I will say though, the stuff with Gilbert in the apple orchard, I do think that was a little bit too heavy-handed for my taste, which is why
Yeah.
I can't rate it as high as something like Flo or Wild Robot. But
I definitely have a limit when it comes
Yeah.
to stuff like that. So
I
if
gotta
I
say-
ever rewatch this movie, I'm probably gonna skip past those
yeah,
parts.
I will say though,
Right,
when
yeah.
this movie hits hard, it hits hard. Like the scene where their dad dies and they have to be separated, that broke my heart. The scene where Grace found his husband's fetish scrapbook, like that threw me for a loop because I didn't see that coming.
Here's the thing. I sort of saw that coming, and it was because of one very subtle hint that I noticed out of the corner of my eye when we were being introduced to Ken as a character. I noticed a calendar with like it's something about like big beautiful women or something. It was like a picture of a large gal in a bikini, and I was thinking to myself, oh, he's totally gonna be a feeder. Like
I think that
they're totally gonna make him a
girls-
feeder, aren't they?
Uh,
It's in real life, it's like, do what you want. The important thing is that you got to be consenting adults, and the problem here is that he was intentionally going out of his way to sabotage her health without her knowing. Like that is what makes him such a terrible person. Like I'm very glad that I was very proud of her, like seeing her get out of that relationship when she did.
Right, he seemed like genuinely apologetic when she was throwing his stuff out.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's because he couldn't use her anymore, or if he actually did form a connection.
Which
Like I hope
either way,
I hope he gets what he deserves, whatever that is.
yeah.
and this, I kind of felt like the ending was a little rushed and they kind of pushed it over. But again, this one leans a bit more on the sweet side of bittersweet. So at least that.
Right,
I was very
relieved
relieved to see Gilbert come
I
back.
thought it was a little bit of a cop out that Gilbert had survived, but then again, it's kind of easy to assume while Grace was reading the letter that Ruth was either making stuff up or just didn't know everything that happened.
Yeah. We did not see it. That is my rule of thumb when watching movies. If we do not see a body, I'm not convinced. and even then it's 50-50 sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to say that Pinky shouting potatoes right before she died. Like the resolution, like the ending resolution before the epilogue hinged a lot on her remembering that one word. Because like she left Grace like her entire savings and wrote that letter knowing that she was losing her mind, but she didn't think to write down a hint as to where to find it in case she couldn't remember it. Like, even if it's just like an envelope saying, "Don't open until I die."
Yeah, goes to show that how much she was losing it. I mean, plus she's eccentric enough to where I would totally believe that she would want to bury it and
True.
like give her a puzzle.
I mean, she could still bury it, but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
Pinky, definitely my favorite character from the film. Every scene with her was gold.
Yes, Sam.
I love the company she starts of just holding old people's hands. Like that. That's it.
Yep. Also, I've never seen Succession, so this was basically my introduction to Sarah Snook. Good voice acting performance here.
Hell yeah. I need to see that show. I didn't know she was in that.
Yeah, I really liked how the ending came full circle with them finally scattering their dad's ashes at the top of that roller coaster, and then the ashes turning into a snail shell. That was a great way to end
That
it.
got me.
No,
So good. I was happy that when she was burning all of her stuff and she was about to throw her hat in, she was like, "Nah, I'll keep the hat." It's like, yeah, stick to that recognizable character imagery, baby. might as well keep one thing.
Yep. And I'm kind of glad they're again giving spots to the auteurs and the visionaries beyond the mainstream. They're at least giving them a shot in this category, so it's not just the Disney category from here on out.
Oh yeah. Only one Disney film this year,
And it was the one that broke all the records.
a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, this category has actually gotten more competitive now. So
I don't know who's going to win. It really could be anybody, and that includes our last one, which is
Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most
Oh
Foul.
yes.
These are my boys. I love these two. These are
Wallace and Gromit
two of my
are
favorite
like-
characters of all time. I love
Yeah,
these
they're-
guys.
Yeah, they're titans of the industry. They won 2 shorts in the short subject, and they won Best Animated Feature way back in 2005 with the modern classic Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
That is one of my favorite DreamWorks films ever. It is so good, and I was so hyped when I saw the trailer drop for this. And not only that we would be getting a feature-length Wallace and Gromit after so long, but the return of Feathers McGraw, one of the best animated villains of all time. That got me so freaking hyped. And
Yeah, also, The Wrong Trousers is just my favorite Oscar-winning animated short.
that is such a classic.
I have to ask: is that the one that has that famous GIF of Gromit laying down train tracks?
That's right. Yes. It's also the one where where Feathers like pulls out a gun on Gromit out of nowhere. It's such a silly out of context thing to show somebody.
Was the first Wallace and Gromit short, but The Wrong Trousers is what made them household names.
I love the build up to that short, by the way. Like Feathers has Wallace captured, and Gromit shows up with a rolling pin, smacking his hand like he's about to give him hell or something, and then pulls out the gun. He's like, "Okay, you win. Okay, I'll surrender. I'll go with Wallace. You put the gun down. It's cool. It's cool."
It was so out of pocket
God.
too. Like he did not have a gun for like the whole like short leading up to that. That's what makes it so funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, Peter Salas, the original voice of Wallace, is no longer with us, so now it's Ben Whitehead's role.
It is. That is probably one of the best impressions of a character I've ever heard. Like it felt like Peter Salas was like right there in the recording booth. Like it is spot on. Like bravo to Ben Whitehead. He did incredibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aardman are titans of animation, not just for Wallace and Gromit, but also for Shaun the Sheep and Chicken Run, and they've been in the industry since 1972, doing title sequences for shows. They did the animation for the music video for Sledgehammer, an all-time classic. If you haven't seen that,
That's a good one.
Yeah, but
No, I
also Aardman Chicken Run is part of the reason we even have this category, because they went all in to become the first animated film to win Best Picture. When the Academy screwed them over, they said the next year, "Okay, fine, we'll make an animation category." You like that?
Yeah, you're not fine. And if we're not gonna get an Oscar for Chicken Run, we'll just we'll make a silly Wallace and Gromit film that doesn't have Holocaust themes in it, and that'll win.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Chicken Run came out first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. My joke works, and
Yes, it does.
they came back with this, and it's just it's a very cozy time.
Right.
It kind of goes into the themes that Nick, I think you mentioned you thought Wild Robot was going to have about like over reliance on technology.
Yeah,
and with here, it was nice to see that they they were saying technology isn't all bad, but it's nice to have a balance.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but also, I remember when Were-Rabbit came out, there was skepticism over whether Wallace and Gromit could work as a feature. But they're able to do it well. They have a 3-act structure, coherent plot line, and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
I would argue this is just as good as that movie.
yeah, Were-Rabbit, for the record, beat out a Miyazaki film for that Oscar.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Howl's Moving
Yeah,
Castle.
like I gotta say, there were like 2 jokes in that movie, like near the beginning, where I'm just like, oh yeah, this is going to work. It's when near the beginning, there's a character when there's like, look, this reporter on your doorstep, and the reporter's name is literally on your doorstep. I'm like, oh yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I laughed super hard at the name before that when they said, and now we're on the scene with Anton Deck, and I was like, oh wait, are they actually gonna have an Anton Deck cameo? And then I saw the guy was named Anton Deck. I was like, oh, that's a really good pun. Good, that was a good job.
It reminds me of that joke from Hot Fuzz. Peter Ian Staker, all right, piss taker, come on. And then, I'm sorry, Mr. Staker, we tried all we could.
Nice.
Yeah, and I also like when the Nova's charging up in Gromit's room, and he's made that annoying, and then it's near 1%. I'm like, I'm with Gromit. I would have tossed that thing out the window too.
It's kind of crazy how Gromit has all this personality and this idea, and he doesn't even have any lines.
He doesn't even have a mouth.
It just goes into the silent storytelling like stays strong this year, even in the non-silent films like Wild Robot and now Wallace and Gromit. Like Gromit is one of my favorite silent characters.
And like that's a great thing about Feathers too. Like this character, like Feathers McGraw, like this character has like barely any facial reaction, like barely any expression on his face. Just a simple looking design. But you remember how he is because how he's animated, how he moves. It's so intimidating. Like this little penguin.
It's like, at least with Gromit, he's able to use his eyes to emote for the most part. But like even Feathers doesn't have that going for him. But like he still has so much personality. Like especially the scene when he's trying to guess Wallace's password, and like he realizes it's the cheese, and he like hits his head and like when he has a eureka moment, like, oh, obviously. Like that was such a good little character moment. I love the claymation so much.
Yeah, I feel like he could be a fitting villain in, I guess fittingly, Penguins of Madagascar.
Honestly, yeah.
He gives me very Skipper vibes.
That would be funny, the penguin's going against the silent penguin, who just, for no reason, doesn't talk.
Oh, by the way, I love how Feathers pulls a reverse Perry the Platypus.
Oh, yeah. It's like, a chicken? It's you! Again!
Yeah!
It's funny how they managed to make this seem like a sequel that was planned from the very beginning. That even when he was captured, he had a plan to get the diamond back with the turnip switcheroo, which that's a very clever thing to pull off. Like not many people are able to have that kind of retcon work in the context of a legacy sequel.
Yep. Yet again, it works because it's a sequel to a short that we all wanted to see more of. And also, there's continuity with Shaun the Sheep, even.
Right?
I was so happy to see the farmer make a cameo,
that's where I recognize him from.
Yeah, his voice actor was there to give the.
He had one line and he sold it.
Yeah, John Sparks, baby, and they got Peter Kay back as the chief and Albert McIntosh, because he was also in The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. That was cool to see him come back for.
And he had the line which was, "Somebody was absent." That's right. Someone was absent around.
Yeah. He was just as fun in this as I remembered him being, and PC Mukherjee, she was a fun new character added to the fray.
Oh yeah,
I loved like the energy she brought to it. Lauren Patel, I think, did a great job. I hope they keep her character around for future Wallace and Gromit stuff.
I do too.
And I think there's a nice little character arc of her like learn to go with her gut, in which Albert McIntosh was not expecting that to like cause him to get like thrown off the cycles. Like when your advice is like used against you, like it backfires. Those are funny moments in life.
Yeah, this movie also has two jokes that are kinds of jokes that I always like. One of them is when Wallace opens the door just as a lady officer, I forget her name, tries to use a battering ram to get in.
Mukherjee.
Yeah. and just keeps running.
Yes, I loved that.
Yeah, and the
Because
other
I
one-
wasn't expecting her to have the battering ram.
And the other one is when during the boat chase. I mean, I just love slow high speed chases. Like when they just cut the music and cut out to see that it's actually walking pace.
It's always an old lady too to get the speed across.
Exactly.
That's a universal element to that joke. I was surprised by like how intense the climax was. Them being on that gigantic railway bridge and the teetering of the train. I was like, that was some good stuff. Like, and I was totally expecting him to use the switcheroo, like throw that back around on Feathers. So I was very happy to be right about that, because like all he could do when he realized he lost was just like sit down in disbelief with his head down. I was like, hell yeah! You think about what you did.
Like, it's a predictable twist, but it's an earned twist. Doesn't hurt it at all.
Like let it sink in, baby.
If that's not how it ended, something would be wrong.
Yeah, because it felt too thematically appropriate. I am looking forward to more Feathers in the future, since he did technically get away. He is still wanted, so I'm sure we're going to be getting more antics from him to come.
Yeah, like when I realized he was still on the loose, I'm like, oh shit, he's still out there. He's not in jail anymore.
Yeah. Who knows what he's gonna do with like the probably more resources now that he's out of there. By the way, that was another fun Easter egg when he was doing the I'm not a robot test. Like, which of these images have cheese in them? And the moon was there.
Yeah. That's a callback to the first one.
He's like, I gotta get some cheese from the moon.
Let's not forget that Feathers Withdrawal had a little cameo at the end of the second Chicken Run movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like when they're all ready to at the end to do some more chicken rescuing, you can see Feathers with the little glove on his head in the background.
Nice. Oh man. It's becoming a cinematic universe. Like, they straight up confirmed that Shaun the Sheep takes place in the same city as Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
So, how would you guys feel if we got like a big crossover movie one of these days?
Totally.
Oh,
I'd
that'd
watch
be
it.
good.
I would love to see Gromit and the sheepdog interact together.
Yeah.
I think that would lead to some fun moments.
I need to rewatch Curse of the Were-Rabbit, because I saw that in theaters, but I was only like 9, so I barely remember anything. The only thing that stuck with me was that Wallace really likes cheese.
My friend, it holds up spectacularly. You're gonna love it.
It does.
Like, well, the reason I love these two, even when their message, like in this film, is about, technology and, over relying on it, they still find a way to make it timeless. Because, you don't see them like using an iPhone or streaming or whatever. It's just like silly inventions that Wallace has always been known for, but just like he's getting carried away with it, like to the point where he even makes a robot for patting Gromit on the head.
Right.
And this can be watched by anyone and in any time, and that I think timeless animation goes a long way, and making it accessible to like future generations.
Yeah, this really is just a feel-good movie, one that you can put on whenever you're feeling any sort of way and just want a quick watch.
Right,
Like,
and
the
I'm
fact
also
that this is
surprised-
technically my least favorite of these 5 movies is a testament to how stacked the year was, and absolutely not against the movie itself. I don't think I
Right.
gave all of these movies at least 4 out of 5.
It really does come down to personal preference, which one you think should win.
Yeah, it's like a Bizarro World SAT question where there are no wrong answers and 5 correct ones.
Because Because it's like I could say that we should give it to the ones that made me feel the most emotions, like possibly give that to Wild Robot. But I still felt like a joy like welling up inside me at the end when Wallace like pat Gromit on the head for real, like when they were able to close that little plot line together.
That was a nice ending.
It was.
It's like, oh, reminding you that Gromit is in fact a dog still.
But the emotion ran high, especially like near the climax when Wallace said that like he can't live without his best friend. I'm like, hot damn! Oh wow, that really delivered.
See, that's why Ben Whitehead was such a good pick for Wallace, because yes, he does a fantastic impression, but at the end of the day, he's also a really good actor too, because if you can like keep the emotions and make him believable while still keeping up that voice, that is like proof that you deserve to be hired for that role. And like I'm very, very glad to see him like given the chance to do this, because up to this point he's been playing Wallace in like video games and commercials since 2008, and so this was his first feature performance as him, and he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, like he delivers the right kind of emotion for Wallace, and like this makes me back to A Close Shave when like he realized he was going to be put through a sheep mincer. He actually compliments the device. He says, "It's a sheep mincing thing. Now that's clever." And I'm just like, wow. I'm just like, that's a bit different than how he reacts now, though.
Yeah, they do a good job like making him absent-minded, but not cruelly absent-minded, because like that's a very easy thing pitfall to fall into. But we talked about that with SpongeBob before.
Right. He's so absent-minded that he programmed his robot to have an evil setting, just because he wanted to cover all his bases, I guess.
Like, look, with moments like, normally I hate moments like that where they're guessing the password to hack into a thing, but with Wallace and Gromit, it fits the silly tone that I give it a pass. Because it's not like in I don't know if you guys have seen the Avengers video game. It's where there's one scene where Kamala Khan is hacking into Tony Stark's account, and she guesses his password is "I am Iron Man," and that's the correct password. It's like, really, Tony, you made your password "I am Iron Man"?
No.
What is wrong with you? But here it was just like, oh, geez, of course Wallace would do that. I could totally believe that. Not much else, other than I can't wait for our next Wallace and Gromit adventure.
Yep, there's gonna be more.
I'm glad that this was released on Netflix, because no doubt it'll introduce a whole new audience to it. Probably a younger audience, like who haven't seen Wallace and Gromit yet, and they'll be like, "Oh, I like these guys," and then reintroduce it to older people who have seen Wallace and Gromit before, and who might not have seen the shorts in a while, because like admittedly those shorts like aren't the most accessible things to find online. So part of me hopes that we'll get more of the franchise on Netflix or other streaming services to make it more accessible.
Yeah. And if you still want vintage Aardman, go watch the music video to Sledgehammer.
That is a good one. And also like Chicken Runs and Early Man.
Right.
Well, Flushed Away, even though that's not stop motion, that is still technically Aardman.
Yeah. And Shaun the Sheep. I do remember when the Disney Channel aired like those 5-minute snippets in between their main catalog.
I'm nostalgic as hell for Shaun the Sheep, man. I loved watching those shorts in between the main programming.
Yeah, same. That was cute.
I love some of the different designs they give some of those sheep too. Like I love the big giant sheep they try to exercise. I like the little Timmy sheep that they have there. I thought he was really cute, and like I even love like the sheepdog and like that mean old cat that they added later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a very diverse, vibrant world they have.
And but I was about to like have a moment of like Doy hitting myself on the head like Feathers McGraw if I didn't mention this, but can I just say right now, like even if this doesn't win, I think Wallace and Gromit has one of my favorite just like soundtracks ever. It is so whimsical and has so much personality to it. The like dun 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 dun, 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 that leitmotif is used throughout so many scenes in this movie. Like even
That's one of the iconic movie theme songs in my book.
Like you can even hear, like even when Wallace is like sad at his piano and playing the notes discordantly, you could still like the leitmotif still makes its way through. Like you could tell he's just playing it, but just very badly because he's so sad.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, I could listen to this soundtrack forever. Like when UK, you guys could be so charming when you're at your best. Don't stop.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
closing
all.
thoughts.
I love the thumbprints. The thumbprints are my favorite part of claymation because it reminds me of how everything is crafted by hand.
Yep. Good class. Nice to see your representation again. And this year's class is good. It's finally nice to see the Oscars giving stuff to good movies in this category.
Yeah, but now the question is, which one do we think is going to win, and which one do we think deserves to win?
Let's give roots and bets. I like the sound of that.
Right. I'm rooting for Flow, just because I think it would be the most monumental and the most shaking one. Like, it would be like when Del Toro's Pinocchio won and shook up the landscape. But my personal idea, Wild Robot, is the one that I think is probably going to win, and the one that I think is the most successful. And it has other nominations, so I think this is the one that they're going to go with.
Yeah, not a bad guess, and I'm kind of in that same boat. Like, Flow is my favorite one. It's the one I want to win. Because for me, when I'm watching a movie, I want to be immersed in it. It's why I tend to go to theaters on days that aren't packed. It's my preferred way of watching them, and Flow is a movie that demands that you be immersed in it, and it achieves that effect very well. But I do think Wild Robot is probably going to have the edge among the voters. I could see either one winning, but my bet would be the Wild Robot.
Yes, I'm in a similar boat. I also think the Wild Robot is probably going to win. I know that's probably the boring answer. Let's be real, but that just it seems to be lining up that way. However, the one that I want to win, I love Wallace and Gromit too much. Like, these guys are just so charming to me, and the claymation is one of my favorite styles, and it's so rare to see. And I was like so scared when that news broke that they were running out of clay at the animation studio, and I was thinking, no, we're not going to get any more stop motion films or claymation films, no. And I was relieved that they were like, no, it's okay, we found some more. It's like, oh, thank God.
Well, you know the story of what happened after release of Were-Rabbit?
What happened?
Apparently, the facility that they housed a lot of their stuff in burned down.
No!
But they rebuilt, obviously, so yeah.
I do not want clay to go the way of Legos. And yeah, no, it's just like, for me, I tend to pick movies that have the most charm to them when it comes to picking my favorite films. Like, that's part of why Aladdin and Emperor's New Groove have been consistently at the top of my list for my favorite Disney films, and this is no exception. I feel like I could watch it multiple times and never get bored of it, which I can't really say for the rest of the movies, with the exception of Wild Robots, which is why I wouldn't really be upset if it won. But that's the one that I'm kind of like low-key rooting for to win, because I love those two so much.
Well, I feel like Inside Out 2 is gonna win, mostly because like it was like a huge success, and it's probably the biggest success out of all of them so far. But for one that I think deserves to win, again, like, I'm kind of going back and forth between these two, but I'm a carrot. I want Wallace and Gromit to win so badly.
Yeah. Bring it on. Dogs versus cats. That's what this is. It's the only one with a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
With 129 reviews, that's rare in these days.
So everyone agrees. Wallace and Gromit, they are the goats.
Yeah.
And honestly, how many? When it comes to the title drops, they had one too. when Wallace was like, "This is vengeance most foul." It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yes.
I felt
Jesus.
that went hard.
Yeah, I clap at every title drop in movies. That's my little tradition.
Dude, they did not have to go so hard in that scene when Riley was apologizing to her friends, and she was like, I don't know, I'm really feeling Inside Out too. Oh, so that's why they called it that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
now
no.
I'm just
She would be like,
imagining-
I'm feeling Inside Out, and then one of her friends says, I feel Inside Out too.
I just love the end where all the animals were comforting the whale, and as it breathes its last breath, he's just like, flow.
The one line of dialogue. This has truly been a flow of an experience.
That reminds me of Silent Movie, where the one line is the mime saying no.
Which movie was that?
Silent Movie.
Oh, it's called Silent Movie.
By Mel Brooks. Marcel was a very famous mime, and he gets the only line in the movie.
That's awesome.
Brilliant.
I haven't seen that
Yeah.
movie. I should check that out.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Did they say Memoir of a Snail in Memoir of a Snail? I forget.
No, I don't think so.
Oh well. I'm sure they could have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised that wasn't the name of Grace's stop motion film.
Oh, you get well, yeah, that I didn't mention it before, but I was surprised by how thematically they were able to tie everything into just the snail as an animal. I was like, okay, you wanted to make a movie about snails. I dig it. I vibe with it.
Yeah.
I think people are going to appreciate snails a lot more now. Yeah. So it's dog versus cat versus robot versus other dog and feelings.
Oh, yeah. Odd one out.
Yeah.
All
right,
I'm sad.
Yeah, I'm actually
yeah.
looking forward to seeing which one wins.
Yeah. And we'll hey, whoever does, yeah, you get good congratulations to you in advance.
Yeah.
And to anyone disappointed that their favorite didn't win, just keep it civil. This was a very good class. They're all winners in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
want it to be
The saying is an honor to be nominated is often weak consolation, but it's true because just a nomination puts you in the top 1% of all animated films this century.
Yep.
It's totally gonna be Wallace and Gromit.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Take
Yeah.
care, everybody.
Yeah. Drive
Peace
home
out.
safely.
And look out for the snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.